MAINIMAGE Getty Advertising in Read invented by TeadsAdvertisinginRead invented by TeadsArlene Foster has sent a warning to Theresa May. ENDMAINIMAGE the DUP, who are propping up Theresa May's stories in Westminster, sent a dire Brexit warning to Theresa May this afternoon. They said any compromise between Mrs May and the EU over the Irish border issue would threaten the future of the Government.With Theresa May and her Brexit negotiators desperate to progress to the second round of Brexit talks. More and more focus has been shown on Ireland over the past fortnight. But despite growing understanding between Westminster, Dublin, and Brussels, the DUP has now threatened to pull the rug out from under the PM. The Tories will not be able to rely on DUP votes in Parliament if a border compromise is reached, one of Arlene Foster's MPs warned this afternoon. Related articles: The DUP is just getting started, think tank warns Theresa May, police warning as thousands take part in Orange Walk in Glasgow. Sammy Wilson said, if there is any hint that in order to placate Dublin and the EU, they're prepared to have Northern Ireland treated differently than the rest of the UK, then they can't rely on our vote. They have to recognise that if this is about treating Northern Ireland differently, or leaving us half in the EU, dragging along behind regulations which change in Dublin, it's not on. It followed reports Mrs May is considering caving into calls for Northern Ireland to be given special status and allowed to remain in the single market or customs union. The Unionists said any move towards this sort of solution would result in a sharp response from the DUP, whose 10 seats prop up Mrs May's minority government. Even a regulatory equivalent to the Northern Ireland would be deeply destabilising to the confidence and supply agreement, they said. Read more: how does the Irish border impact Brexit talks? The Irish border remains the last major hurdle between the EU and the UK progressing to the second stage of Brexit talks. The Republic of Ireland has repeatedly threatened to derail negotiations unless assurances were given regarding the north of Ireland and the border. Ms Foster's comments will set alarm bells ringing in Westminster, where Theresa May's fragile government survives following a £1 billion bung following last summer's general election. The DUP favour a hard Brexit which pushes Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK closer together. Her party ferociously oppose any move which would further link the north of Ireland with the Republic. This could prove a major barrier for Mrs May, who now finds herself negotiating on several fronts. With Dublin and Brussels already posing stern opposition to talks progressing, the DUP's announcement threatens to completely block one of her remaining options. Ms Foster's comments are particularly jarring given the widespread opposition to Brexit in Northern Ireland, and an even more widespread opposition to leaving the single market and customs union. Northern Irish voters chose overwhelmingly to remain in the EU in last June's Brexit referendum. Around 56% voted Remain while just 44% voted Leave. Concerns over the state leaving the customs union and single market, while neighbouring Ireland remains within, have grown since referendum day. Unlike England, Scotland or Wales, Northern Ireland shares a land border with the Republic of Ireland, and therefore the European Union and its customs union and single market. There are more than 300 road crossings across the border, more than 100 cross-border organizations and agreements, and countless communities which rely on trade and populations on both sides of the border. GETTYARlene Foster has today sent a dire warning to Theresa May over the Brexit border issue. Earlier today, Mrs. Foster wrote on the DUP website of her opposition to any arrangement which would place any barriers between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK. She said she would not tolerate Northern Ireland remaining in the customs union or single market if England, Wales and Scotland left. She wrote, "The United Kingdom voted to leave the European Union as one nation and we are leaving as one nation. There can be no arrangements agreed that compromise the integrity of the UK single market and place barriers, real or perceived, to the free movement of goods, services and capital between Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom. This is a breaking story, more to follow." Related articles. Dublin demands sea border. Expert says Northern Ireland finished. Ireland should wise up. Paisley calls for a Brexit amid border row. Arlene Foster condemns aggressive EU negotiators after May speech.